Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video here at tablemon. Thank you so much for tuning in. So continuing with our coverage of post-rotation decks, we are going to take a look at what possibly the new Gardevoir EX decks will look like. Now, I'm not sure how strong Gardevoir EX will be because the whole new attacker inclusions that Gardevoir will now most likely be playing rely heavily on tool cards, and those tool cards can be easily lost vacuumed away. But we have the same 4/4 two line of Gardevoir EX line. We don't have Shining Arcana Gardevoir anymore, unfortunately, but Refinement is as good as ever. Kirlia, of course, a fantastic card to be able to have in the deck. Lets you draw so many more cards and lets you even more effectively Iono your opponent out of resources, because you can Iono them and you can Iono yourself into a 2, 3, 4, however many cards, and then you can replenish your resources through Refinement. So fantastic card to have. And of course, Gardevoir EX's Psychic Embrace ability, allowing you to attach as many energies as you want from the discard pile to your Pokemon and damaging them in the process is pretty good and pretty powerful. However, now we need to shift the attackers because Sashan is no longer a thing. We also don't have access to Mew, and we don't have access to Shining Arcana. We now have to rely on attackers such as Drifloon with the Balloon Blast attack, doing 30 damage for each damage counter on this Pokemon. Now, with only 70 HP, you can attach 3 energies to it. That's 6 damage counters on it. That's 180 damage, which is pretty good, right? You do leave the Drifloon with 10 HP left, but that's not that big a deal usually. However, if we attach either Bravery Charm, Luxurious Cape, or the new Hero's Cape to Drifloon, we will be increasing its HP, allowing it to deal extra damage. If we attach Bravery Charm, Drifloon will have 120 HP, meaning you can attach up to 5 energies onto it. That's 10 damage counters, that's 300 damage, which is a very decent amount. You also have the Luxurious Cape, bringing you to 170 HP, meaning you can bypass and get to the 330-340 damage threshold, which is the big number to hit at this point in time. And then of course Hero's Cape just adds to that even further. And then we have Screamtail. Screamtail with its Roaring Scream attack does something very similar. Let me just pull it up to make sure that I know exactly what it does. 20 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon for each damage counter on this Pokemon. So not only can you attack the active, you can also attack the bench. You do deal 10 less damage to Drifloon, but you get the versatility of potentially attacking a benched Pokemon. Now, why is that significant? Because you can chase down bench sitters such as Pidgeot, for example. Now, every time you play against Gardevoir, you will pretty much be forced to play Manaphy, which is also something that is occurring right now. But with the addition of Bravery Charm, Luxurious Cape, or the Hero's Cape, you will be able to hit some really high numbers once again, breaking that 330-340 damage threshold. And if you have the Hero's Cape attached, you will not be giving up 2 prize cards in case Screamtail does get KO'd. Now, I want to point out once again how if your opponent plays a Lost Vacuum, right, that's going to be a problem, because then if you self-damaged enough to where you bypassed your regular HP, you lose the tool, your Pokemon gets KO'd, and then what happens? You need to promote something else that will most likely also be KO'd. So you're giving up 2 prizes against your opponent anyways. Whether it's with a Luxurious Cape or with a Hero's Cape, you're going to be in that sort of trouble. I think that's the big thing that will potentially stop Gardevoir from a top tier deck. Now, perhaps that will change in the next rotation when Lost Vacuum is longer a thing, and maybe there won't be any tool removal, but that will also mean there will be no more refinement. So, and that's way into the future, around April 2025. So let's not jump that far ahead. Now, other cool attackers, Mimikyu with a Safeguard ability preventing damage from EX Pokemon and V Pokemon, which is fantastic. The whole metagame is revolving around EX Pokemon and V Pokemon, of course, and will continue to be so after rotation. So nice ability to have. And then the attack allowing you to play 7 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon, pretty decent, right? To apply a little bit of pressure, can just be a nice sitting bench or like wall-ish sort of attacker. Can maybe get some easy wins against something like Arceus Giratina, which usually don't play anything to get around Mimikyu. But the big inclusion from the new set along with the Heroescape is that Flutter Mane. The Flutter Mane does have the Witching Hour Flutter ability, where as long as this Pokemon is in the active spot, your opponent's active Pokemon has no abilities except for Witching Hour Flutter, right? So obviously not as powerful as something like Wofed from the past, which when it was active, it stopped everything from having Pokemon abilities. Witching Hour Flutter, very niche, very specific, and you have the Flying Curse attack doing 90 damage and put 2 damage counters on your opponent's bench Pokemon in any way you like. So not fantastic, not horrible. This is attacker. I'm sure there will be niche situations where the ability pulls through for you, especially against something like Arceus, for example. Could be good to stop their Star Breath in case they don't have in case they're not on the bench or they don't have a bench Arceus V-Star as well. You can also stop Qianbao Silver Chill from fetching water energies, and I'm sure there's other interesting uses for it, but definitely not the most impactful card. And it's pretty weird because Flutter Mane is like the #1 Pokemon in VGC. It's like the #1 most powerful Pokemon that was introduced in Scarlet and Violet in the video game, and then this card is a little on the underwhelming side, but we haven't seen a Flutter Mane EX, and that might change things, and that might change the perspective, just because it could be all of a sudden an incredibly overpowered basic Pokemon that just wrecks the whole format. We shall see, but that's definitely not coming in Temporal Forces. Perhaps later we'll have to see what Pokemon has in store for us with Flutter Mane. And then outside of that, we have the inclusion of Buddy Puffin, of course, the cool card that replaces Battle VIP Pass in this deck. We lose Level Ball, we lose Fog Crystal, so in this place we need to max our counts of Ultra Ball and play a lot of Nest Balls as well to really get going. And then have Iono, Boss's Orders, and now Arven. Why Arven? Because we have the very important Luxurious-Cape, Bravery Charm, and Heroescape to be able to push for extra damage overall. And we have 2 copies of Technical Machine Evolution to just help us out in evolving and possibly attacking a lot earlier than the 3rd turn. We do have Rare Candy into Gardevoir, of course, but if you go second and you can evolve into Double Kirlia on your 1st turn, then you're ready to go with Gardevoir EX and to start applying pressure with any of your attackers. Now, I will say once again, these lists are based on Japan and Japanese results, so my first instinct would also be to perhaps Mimikyu and the Flutter Mane are not necessary, and just play 2 copies of Screamtail, 2 copies of Drifloon, fit in an extra Bravery Charm, Luxurious Escape somewhere, and then all of a sudden you have, or even a copy of Mimikyu EX potentially, and then you have a more well-rounded, solid starting deck that utilizes the potential of the tools a lot more and can just dish out the big damage. And sure, Lost Vacuum can be problematic, but unless people start playing for Lost Vacuum in their deck, if that happens once, that's fine. It's not going to happen continually, right? And if you're trading your Drifloons or your Screamtails, single prizers for 2 prizers against your opponent's Pokemon, that's going to be really good and really powerful. So definitely something to be on the lookout for, and especially with no Hisui and Heavy Ball, that could be an important inclusion or important consideration for this deck. So yeah, let me know what you think about Gardevoir EX. Let me know what you think will be good in the future for it. And if once again there's any particular deck that you would like to see me cover next, let me know in the comment section down below. Really appreciate the support on these videos. Hoping to get a bunch of these ready and set up as we head into rotation, whilst covering the current standard format as well. Thank you so much. Don't forget to leave a like, and I'll see you in the next video.